G'day fixers, the time has finally come that I am going to say goodbye to my old Kreg K5 system. I've got the 720 in-house. Before I get rid of this, I want to do a quick compare and contrast between the old girl and the new one. I've had this for a year and we'll go through some of the strengths and weaknesses of the 720 and see if you can still get your hands on one of these, which one you might want to go for. Let's kick off. You may quickly notice both of my systems I have got mounted on plywood, and regardless of which jig you get, I would recommend doing that straight off the bat. What I want to do here is just get to you the point of usage. Clamping. I have got my bench, and with those quick clamps on both of these, there we go. I can make them rock solid. That is a heap easier than trying to figure out with the other clamps that came with it, particularly this one. The clamp that the 720 came with will still be useful in some circumstances, but it is so slow. Particularly if you've got a wide bench like I do, because to fit it back in its home, you're going to be here all day. Still doesn't fit. So, no clamp to the bench but pain in the bum. Take your poison. To overcome that, we said we put them on the base, and the K5 with the wings is much easier to screw to the base. It comes with these lovely ports where a standard Kreg 32mm screw into a 3/4 inch board. This one, it does have those same screw holes, but they are deep down, and mounting it to the board was more difficult. Also, even the 25mm screws are too long in order to secure it correctly, and I had to come up with something creative for the wings to still work. Now, of course, you could just put the 720 on the big wide board, but then that gets rid of one of its best features, which is its compact storage ability. While we're talking about the wings as a storage solution, these are much larger and they do have a small fence along the front here. One thing that the 720 didn't come with, which I'm kind of annoyed at, is this handy little sticker. Because while this is auto-adjusting, the main feature that we'll get to in a minute, you still need to know the screw size to be using, and the K5 came with a lovely sticker, the 720 did not. I would have loved that reference to go on the inside of here. I should also point out that while the wings do have more storage in them, it's also got this onboard storage at the back, which the K5 lacks. So your drill bits and all your other bits and pieces to make the jig work are on hand. Again, when it's all packed up nicely, it's just lovely. The superior storage is definitely a win for the 720 over the K5. Next up, dust extraction. 720 wins, easily. This nifty little guy plugs in either side. It is super cool. Yes, I have seen some people complain that the dust extraction is connected to the auto block, which means it's moving slightly and that can cause a little bit of pinch hazard. Also, when you've got your hose plugged in, inevitably it's going to block these things opening properly. My comment on that is, how many times are you opening them while your dust is plugged in, and it's really not that bad. I can still do it, it just requires a little bit of fiddling. So if we take a look at the K5, I had to put on one of these little step downs to make it work for my shop vac. This actually came with a bigger step up, I suppose you'd call it. That is beautiful and rubberized. So if you have got a larger dust extractor, you have no worries at all. Again, just the dust extraction on this thing is fantastic. Lastly, on the K5, this is not what I'd call very secure. You can swing this to both sides, but I have had it pop off just like that once or twice when using it when you bump the hose. So it is massive improvement over here compared to this thing. Not bad, but really good. Both of these jigs also come with a handy dandy adjustment stop. Oh, I forgot about that. That is the setup block, which comes to set your drill collar depth. Obviously not needed on the 720, but an essential little piece of kit, which is just another setup step with the K5. It works really well, but again, something that has been eliminated over here. And this you can put on that side or on that side, because it's going to sit like that and will go all the way up in to your stop. So if you want repeatable space pocket holes, you lock it down like that, and then your piece will stop up against there, so you've got a nice point of reference. The K5 also had something similar to that, but it was, again, a bit more fiddly. There are some little keyhole slots in the side here, again, on both sides, double screw in order to adjust the length. It is a lot slower and a lot more fiddly, but you could get an acceptable length stop there. What it's not going to do is come out all the way like the new one can. So another win for the 720 in terms of adjustable stops. Honestly, I'm rarely that fussy with my pocket holes, but if you are that way inclined, these little guys do help on both units, the 721 being better. So while I did like the K4, this mechanism for clamping facing you when you're using it and the ease of adjustability were game changers back in their day with the K5, and it is still a great system. Very quick, very easy to use. But of course, the party trick of the 720, it also has that front-facing handle, which is fantastic, but there's no more adjusting. From 12mm up to about 1 3/4 inches, this thing will automatically adjust to whatever size and get your drill going to the correct depth on those ranges of timber. You've got this simple little Auto Max knob here, much like on the Kreg clamps, to adjust how hard that goes in. You don't need a lot of pressure. It's rubberized here to hold everything nicely flush too. The auto adjusting is really the big selling point of the 720 over the K5. But there's one thing which kind of pissed me off. Look at this. 19mm, 3/4 bed slat, probably the thing we're going to be using a lot of the time in your plywood. 720, position, lock down, beautiful, love it. K5, also good, but you need to adjust it. I haven't actually used this in quite a while, probably 12 months, so I've forgotten how to do it for a second. But it does work really well. It is still really strong. It's a good system. That's just better. Alright, second most common thing we probably use our Kreg jigs for. 2x4. In the new money, that's about 36mm. This, haven't touched a thing. In she goes. Lock it down. Not only are we good, but this height here has auto-adjusted to the correct drill depth too. The only thing we would have to change between 19mm and 36mm is the height of the collar. 1 step change instead of 3. Really good. Over here, we've got this all set for 19mm. We want 36 now. Got to adjust this bit here to that correct height. Pull that back. Whack that in. Put it down, 2 clicks, and now she's locked in. Look, it doesn't take long, but it is a time saver, and it just means you don't have to think about anything except for the stop collar on that drill bit. Number of times, in fact I think I have a hole in the bottom of this to prove it, that you forget to change the block and then you're not drilling right and you're wondering why your screws aren't going through. It takes a lot of the guesswork out the 720, and it's why I do really, really like this machine. But we mentioned there was one annoyance, and here it is. 45mm, next size up. Not quite 2 inches, just a shy bit under. Booyah, done. What did I say about forgetting this bit? Now we'd be done. Can still handle. Yeah. Iowa, we have a problem. Why, when it looks like there is that little bit more play up here, have you lowered the capacity? This piece will not, and there is no way to make it fit into the new 720. I don't like losing range. And on the 720, compared to the K5, I have just lost that option. Have I ever used it? Maybe once or twice, so it's not a deal breaker. But, it's just one of those little things. Don't take away unless you absolutely have to. And the 720 has done that. Having said that, that is my one big and major gripe with the 720. And it's really just pissing in the wind. It's not that bad because that's an unusual size of timber to use. It does come with some other party tricks. Let's look at something else that you might want to try to pocket hole. Typically, this sort of thing. This is 3/4 inch heavy, because it's hardwood, ply. And the wings are obviously well designed on both systems to be able to do that sort of work. No issues whatsoever. When you start coming up to stuff like this though, you can start to see how vertical pocket holing on either system is getting a little precarious. You're going to have to reach around. If you have a really big sheet, bugger it, let's do it. Let's grab one. The things I do to show you guys about stuff. Big sheet, K5, how are we going to work this? Will I hit the ceiling? I want pocket holes on the side of this, right? Oh, there goes my light. That is just unwieldy. I can't adjust the clamp properly. Slide this around here. Got to move it. Not ideal. Not the way that you'd be wanting to do this with the K5. Let's look at the 720. Now, obviously, if I tried to lift that in here, going to have the exact same problem. Fortunately, this thing has a trick. Wings off. Flip down. And we can use our 720 in this orientation. So without too much fussing around, I can set those up. That is still going to auto adjust. And now I can drill my pocket holes in from this way, much easier, and I can completely see what I'm doing, even with the base screwed down onto the jig like this. While I've got you, one of my other little pet hates with this are these clips. They're probably the weakest design of a piece of plastic that I've seen in Kreg Gear. I have never, in 5 years of using Kreg kit, ever cracked, smacked, or broken a piece of Kreg plastic. And I own a lot of Kreg gear, alright? I've abused my rip cut, I have destroyed my AccuCut. I've never seen a crack. It is very strong stuff for all those people who go, oh, it's made of plastic, it's rubbish. Bullshit. It is perfectly good. This, however, is a poor design. These little clips, they're okay. They're strong enough for the job of holding up the wings. My problem is when you unhook them, if you don't put them all the way down like this, and you open this up, lifting that lid does that. And that's really annoying because over time they probably are going to break or snap at some stage. And without them, that wing will not be secured. I don't know how you design around that. You just have to be careful. To overcome that lack of maneuverability that the K5 had, it does have one other party trick which is sorely missing in the 720. The ability to do that. Now, ostensibly, this was so that you could get the Micro or the XL plug cutter jigs in here. And the 720 does have the ability for this block, its version of the block, to come off. For that ability, you can get different ones for smaller and larger drill bit sizes. But what this one doesn't allow you to do, that this one does, is pretty cool. Because the Master Jig came with the old Kreg K3. Always wondered why there was a K4, K5? That's the K3. The K1 and 2 were the originals, by the way. And it becomes portable. Now we can take our jig to the workpiece. Obviously, in the new range, the 320 is designed to do this, and the 520 can do it too, to some greater or lesser extent. But I don't really want two jigs. I know this is technically two jigs, but they came as a package. And it was really cool. You got yourself your clamp that came with the kit. It lives in there. And now, you have got a portable pocket hole solution, and I have used this numerous times, that you could take to your workpiece and drill away. It's got the height adjustment, so you don't have to worry about that. It was just a very elegant and simple solution to give more functionality to the K5, which as far as I can see is basically gone in the K7. If you can't bring the piece to the jig, you certainly cannot take the jig to the piece, which means you then have to buy the 520 or the 320, and I simply do not want to. Which one would I buy? I generally had to really think about that, because this thing is very, very good. But for the space saving, for the better dust extraction, for the auto adjusting ability, the onboard storage, and the flexibility in that 2 orientation tier, I am going to go for the 720. But honestly, it's a pretty close thing. I have no doubt that if I hadn't been given this 720, because I do some work for Kreg Australia, I would probably have not spent the money on it. So there is a second answer. If you already own your K5, no, I do not see the point in getting rid of it and upgrading to the 720, because this thing will probably last you many, many, many years of pocket holding joy, and the advantages of this I don't think justify the spend to upgrade. If I did not have any pocket hole system, then you simply cannot go wrong with the Kreg 720 and the 720 Pro in particular. When I've had these on the shelves for the past 12 months, have always gone to pick this up compared to picking this one up. And as such, I'm going to donate it to a young upcoming Australian woodworker. His name's Thomas, he's from West Australia. He's doing some fantastic things. He may or may not have bought the plans to my lovely workbench here, which is not at all tilted my favour. But honestly, I won this. I got it for free. I got this for free. So I want to pass that karma on to the next generation of woodworkers. And so Tom, I'll get your address off you, mate, and I'll send you this, including the nice little step lock, but you ain't getting a clamp. You'll have to buy your own, because these things are bloody awesome. Thank you for listening to me ramble on about my love of all things Team Blue. You can catch me doing lots of Kreg related stuff on most of the tools that they've released in the playlist that's coming up on your screen now. This is James from Fixit Fingers Out, and I will catch you on the next one.